fish report. Hanging at the fish report. Hanging at the fish report. Hanging at the fish report. For your latest news in high school sports, tune in to the fish report. Don't need no bed, don't need no pull when you tune in to the fish report. Hanging at the fish report. Hanging at the fish report. You got Craig and TK and Head and D tuned in at the fish report.
Coming to you live from Studio F in Russia, Ohio. It's the Fish Report Live Show with your hosts, Craig Fissinger and Ken Francis.
Welcome, folks, to another Fish Report Live. Thanks for joining us. I'm Craig Fissinger. That is Ken Francis. We're your co-host back in our sound room tonight. TK and Heavy D are there as usual. We'll be talking to them in just a few minutes. And Ken, you know, I've got a daughter that goes to college down at Miami University, and I just learned this year that they refer to the football program down there as the Cradle of Coaches, and that's because of all the great football coaches that have come out of the university there. Well, just a couple weeks ago, I actually heard Russia School referred to as the Cradle of Coaches because of their basketball program, and I think we found out why this past weekend.
Yes, we did, Craig. It's interesting you bring that up because Russia head coach Spencer Cardonier, Russia alumni, of course, his first two games this year, his opening night, he faced off Russia alum Coach Brad France of the Houston Wildcats. Brad was making his coaching debut over there for the Wildcats. And then on Saturday night, he's turned his attention to another Russia alumni, and that's Eric Rosenbeck, Craig. So you got three alumni there that coach local teams. And if you add into that, head coach of the Troy Trojans, Coach Paul Bremingen, who's been a resident of Russia for some 30 years, you got four coaches right here in Russia, I guess. So I guess you could call us the Cradle of Coaches.
We got our own cradle right here, and one of those guys we'll actually be talking to tonight.
Yes, we will, Craig. Looking forward to talking to the head coach of the Houston Wildcats, and that's Coach Brad Francis. He's in his first year with the Wildcat program, taking over for the longtime legend over there, Coach John Willoughby. And he's got his kids playing awful hard right now, and we're looking forward to talking to him in just a little bit in the second half of our show.
Yeah, can't wait to get to that. But before we do, Ken, just like we do here every week on Fish Report Live, we have our weekly poll question, and tonight's question has to do with girls basketball.
Yeah, Craig, last Saturday there was a couple stunners in the Shelby County League, and we're going to ask our viewers out there, which of these two games was a more stunning result? Was it Houston's victory over Anna, or was it Bachen's victory over Fort Loramie? I think Fort Loramie had, a 20-game winning streak over Bachen's, and Anna was 17 games over Bachen's, and Fort Loramie's was over Houston. But so which of those two games was more of a stunner for our viewers out there listening tonight?
You had to go back all the way to 2007, I think, for both those programs before we saw the other those teams win previously. But just used to the Anna programs and Fort Loramie dominating for all these years was kind of a stunner to see that coming across Twitter and as well as some of the other social media. But speaking of social media, if you're watching us on Fish Report Live page, you can scroll down and help us answer tonight's poll question and check the results. If you're watching us on NK Telco or Game Face Ohio, TK is going to have those results for you at the end of the show. And Ken, speaking of girls basketball, we're a couple weeks into the season. Let's see how our county standings are shaping up in the SCAL.
Well, like you said, it's very early yet, Craig, but they're starting to take a little bit of shape there. And like we mentioned earlier, this big surprise team right now is the Bachen's Trojans. They're off to a 5-0 start, 2-0 in the Shelby County League. You've got Jackson Center, Craig, right behind them, getting a little bit of a late start because of their championship in volleyball, of course, 3-0 overall. Russia, I think they're going to be a very good team this year, sitting at 1-1, but 4-1 overall. And then Houston, Fort Loramie, and Farallon. And then you got Anna down there in the bottom, Craig. Believe me, the Rockets and the Redskins both, they're going to right the ship before the season's over.
Yeah, not used to seeing them so far down in standings. But again, as you said, it's pretty early right now. And let's talk about some games coming up. Of course, on Thursday night, we have just one game in the SCAL where Botkins actually hosts Riverside, I believe. But let's jump ahead to Saturday and talk about some big county matchups coming up. Actually, all the county schools are in action. But let's get things started with Anna at Jackson Center. I know you got a chance to watch the Tigers at Russia last weekend. What'd you think of Jackson Center?
Well, Craig, I think Jackson Center's got it. They're off to a great start already. You know, these girls are just winners. They've got a new coach over there, and Jeff Reese. He's got his Tigers off to a 3-0 start. His team is led by Olivia Clark. I watched her play in the post the other day. Very tall, talented basketball player. She can really score. She can rebound. And they got good guard play. Cameron Elkert, Cassie Meyer, and another girl in the middle with Alicia Kessler. So the Tigers are really good, Craig. These girls, they know how to win. They've got back-to-back state championships in volleyball. They went to the state semifinals last year in basketball. Look for the Tigers to be pretty much the team to beat, I think, in the Shelby County League in basketball. But they'll take on the Anna Rockets. Rockets are head coach Doug Martin over there. He's got his Rockets sitting at 2-2 now. They're 0-2 in the Shelby County League, so they're in desperate need of a league win, Craig. They're led right now by Emily Ofterhar, Macy Hulskamp, and Abby Gaydosh, Craig. But look for this girl by the name of Jada Rowland to really start to step up her play. She's new to the program. She transferred in from Sydney last year, and I really think she's going to be an instrumental part in that Rocket program, especially the second half of the season as she gets more comfortable with the way the Rockets run the program.
Yeah, I agree with that completely, guys. Rowland was a girl that actually, when she was at Sydney, her freshman year, averaged 6 points a game. Her sophomore season actually dropped down to 2 points a game. And, guys, that was because I think we remember Sylvia Hudson there, that she was kind of the main scorer over there. And I think Jada had to take a backseat to that. So, yeah, I think as she improves game to game, you're going to see Anna be more successful. But, again, Macy Hulskamp, you mentioned her, the key to success over there. And I think as she rolls, so do the Rockets. And I think she's a big key to their success.
Look for a good game Saturday between those two teams.
All right, well, TK, let's talk about another game, and that is Botkins at Houston. Ken just mentioned them in our poll question tonight, both of them coming off big upsets. They have to be feeling pretty good, both of those two teams, after big wins last weekend.
Yeah, I think they do. Start talking about Houston first. Brad Allen's got to be happy with the way the girls have turned around. They started out 0-3, but they started against some tough teams, turned around, they've won 3 in a row, and pretty much those are games they should have won, and they went out and they won them. Working behind the Monier sisters, Morgan Ely and Kara Meyer, that's really the clutch of their offense, and they're starting to come together pretty well, and I see them continue to be a good team as they move through the season. They've righted themselves a little bit from that early stumble of those first 3 losses, so they've got to be happy there. But as you mentioned before, Botkins has to be absolutely ecstatic. At this point last year, they were 2-3. They're 5-0 right now. They're looking at 6, 7, 8, sometimes 9 girls scoring in a night. Just an outstanding team offense right now, and just some great boards as well. Probably the big reason behind that is Sarah Bergman. Of the 5 games, she's had 3 double-doubles, just commanding the floor offensively and defensively. So quite a powerhouse there that they're building around. Not the only one there. We've got Paige Lane. There's 2 Greevy girls. They're playing well, and also Casey Woodall. So like I said, they're getting up to 8, 9 girls are scoring well in that team effort there. So somebody that you're going to have to watch all year long, and I think they'll give Jackson Center a run when those two run into each other. So that'll be interesting to see how that plays out the rest of the season.
Guys, I think one key to Botkins' success this year has been their defense. They're averaging, I think their opponents are averaging only 35 points a game, and in 4 of the 5 games that Botkins played this year, they've scored 50 or more points. So that's getting it done. And you mentioned Houston. I agree with you, TK. The Minor girls, I think they kind of focused on or wanted them to do all the scoring, maybe that first game that they had this season. But, other girls stepping up. Girls like Morgan Ely, Rebecca New have been stepping it up for Houston. So I look for a good game there.
Yeah, I think, with Houston's depth, Russia got way ahead of them early, but they came back and made a game of it the second half. So I think, that's their only, that was their last loss. I think they've won every game since then. So they're playing really well right now.
And one more county matchup coming up, and that is Fairlawn at Fort Laramie, guys. And Fairlawn kind of struggling this year at 0-4. Almost won a game on Tuesday night. Gets Mississinawa Valley. I heard a shot was made there at the buzzer by Mississinawa Valley to win that one. But, you know, the only consistent play they've been getting over there right now seems like out of Lauren Dungeon, and they do have a freshman stepping up, Michaela Hulskamp. That's you know, I'm sure they're looking for any kind of positives they can over there, but you know, only averaging 33.5 points a game, and guys, you know, that's not going to get it done, especially against a team like Laramie. I expect Laramie to hold them well below that, but not your typical Laramie team either this year, sitting at 2-2 overall, 1-1 in the county, and I guess the one surprise I see out of Fort Laramie is they're getting it done with freshmen, and they have a Myring girl over there, Marissa Myring, that had 17, I think, on Tuesday night, maybe 17 the Saturday before. Taylor Ratterman over there that's been playing well for them, but they still have some good upperclassmen. Sarah Stang, Rayanne Fry. Notice they've had some good games here recently, and you know, with Carla Siegel, you never doubt her, and she may be having to work with some freshmen right now as part of her starting lineup. But by the end of the season, they're a team to watch out for.
You know, Craig, I've been watching their scores as well, and you're right. Coach Siegel, we've been around long enough to understand that, you know, if you're going to get the Redskins this year, you better get them early, because I guarantee you, once she starts to get those younger girls to gel with the upperclassmen, Craig, they're going to be a handful just like they are every year. And you know, like you said, she's got them at 2-2 right now, but they'll continue to get better.
Yeah, I expect the Raiders to roll in that game on Saturday. And one more game left in the county, actually a non-county matchup where Marion Local visits Russia. And TK, actually Heavy D, what do you like about the Raiders so far this season?
Boy, I like the Raiders. They've got almost everybody back from last year, Craig. Started out under first-year girls coach Andy Timmerman. They're off to a fast start, 4-1. They've got 3 seniors in the backcourt with Hatcher, Heron, and Plyman. Those three seniors have over 10 years of varsity experience, so they handle the ball well. They can shoot from outside and penetrate. They're fun to watch, and they really don't lose a step when sophomore Jenna Cadonier comes in and plays an off guard. Underneath, they've got some nice height this year with Poling, Wilson, and Garkey. They do a good job on the boards. I did hear we did have an ankle injury and potentially a knee injury from the last game, so we'll have to see how that stacks up against Marion if those girls will be playing.
Yeah, I watched that Jackson Center game, and the one loss the Raiders do have this year. I noticed 2 things. Number one, I think when Larissa Poling went to the bench, the sophomore over there, she is when the Raiders struggle. When she was on the bench, they seemed to struggle a little bit more. And then also turnovers. I mean, that first half against Jackson Center, Russia had 14 turnovers, and I guess credit that to Jackson Center. I think you know, Jackson built up maybe a 12, 13-point lead in that first half. The second half, the Raiders cut their turnovers in half, maybe only had a half a dozen, and they got to within 3 at one point. But turnovers and I think were the big problem in that game. And again, Poling, I think she is a big key to their lineup over there.
I totally agree, Craig. And keep in mind, too, Coach Timmerman is still adjusting to the girls' program. You know, he's a new coach. You know, and these girls are new to him as well as the entire all the competition is that he's playing. So you know, they'll continue to get better. Totally agree on Larissa Poling. I think she's the key to that team. She's a very nice player inside for the Raiders, and we'll see what happens. I think it'll be a good test with Marion Local. They're typically a very strong team.
All right, well, good stuff there, guys, and that's going to do it for our girls basketball talk. We're going to take a short break, but when we come back, we're going to talk some boys basketball, including the interview with Houston coach Brad Francis.
Stage at the Leaping Van. Music starts at 8 o'clock. You can find us here every Wednesday night. It's usually the same cats every week, but I can't tell you all their names. Teacher, cat, and a junkie, all waiting for time to play. Everybody here's got something that we're trying to leave behind. We're all a little broken. just looking for a high. And we're all beautifully broken here tonight.
Welcome back to the second half of Fish Report Live. Before the break, we were talking some girls basketball. Going to talk a little boys now. And Ken, last week we previewed the boys teams. And after just one weekend of play, any early impressions after the first weekend?
Well, it's still very early, Craig. But last week we talked about the 4 teams in the Shelby County League that we felt would be the top teams in the league. And I think after 1 week, they did not disappoint. Russia, Jackson Center, Fort Loramie, and Fairlawn. So, those 4 teams. But, if you look at the box scores, Craig, I would say you'd have to be most impressed with the Fort Loramie Redskins. Right now, Craig, they're scoring a lot of points a game. They're not giving up very many points in a game, and that makes for a good winning combination.
Well, one team we got to watch last weekend in the county was the Houston Wildcats. Russia went over there and visited, and we watched that game. And we watched new head coach over there, Brad Francis, who we know very well. Happy to have him live on the phone right now. Coach Francis, welcome to Fish Report Live, and thanks for joining us.
Thanks, gentlemen. How are you guys?
Good.
Doing well. Well, listen, congratulations on the new coaching job. Ken and I were just talking before, in the first half of the show, how Russia is referred to by some as the cradle of coaches. And, of course, you coach for under longtime coach Paul Bremingen here at Russia. You also coach under Eric Rosenbeck, a Russia alum over there at St. Henry last year. But, what's the difference, Coach, between being an assistant coach and actually taking over the head coach's role this year?
Well, first of all, thanks for having me. And second of all, in answer to your question, I've been a head baseball coach and head golf coach in the past. And as athletic director, you have an oversight over a lot of the programs also. And there's just so many little things that go along with being a head basketball coach that a lot of people don't realize, or even an assistant coach doesn't realize. And just the organization, the junior high coaches, the junior high programs, the basketball camps, excuse me, making sure the managers know what to do on game night. I had about 30 dreams, or I guess I'll call them nightmares, that my book was filled out wrong on opening night, and I got 5 technicals to start out the game. So it's on your mind all the time as a head coach to not only have your team ready to play, but to game plan and prepare against your opponents. And, you want to get better every day in practice, and it weighs on your mind a lot of the time. And not that it doesn't as an assistant, but even more so as a head coach, I guess.
Well, as fate would have it, you opened up against your alma mater on Friday night, got to go up against your friend, I guess now rival, Coach Spencer Cadonier. And I saw you guys chatting before the game a little bit. Take me inside the huddle there a little bit. I mean, was it all cordial stuff, or what were you talking about?
Yeah, there was no smack being talked at all. We've known it since I got the job back in late April, and as I told anybody that asked me, the game was about the kids and not about the coaches. But once it was there, and once it was 20 minutes before tip-off, it was nice to chat with Spencer and just kind of soak in the atmosphere and wished each other the best, not only for the game but for the whole season. And just like I said, enjoyed the moment, and probably picked on Coach Borchers and Coach Leffel a little bit too along the way, I imagine.
Hi, Coach. This is Ken. And let's talk a little bit about that opening weekend. Like Craig said, you started off with the Russia Raiders, then had a tough double overtime loss to the Newton Indians on Saturday night. After those 2 games, though, what did you learn about your Wildcat team?
Well, we had 4 shots to win Saturday night, first of all. And Friday night, going back first, Friday night, Russia played a very, very good first half. And they took advantage of every one of our mistakes. And I like to tell my kids, if you give them an inch, they'll take a mile. And I tell them that might not be so true in 7th and 8th grade or freshman or JV basketball, but in varsity boys basketball, if you give somebody an inch, they take a mile. And Russia did that the entire first half, and I felt we improved the second half. But we gave Newton too many inches on Saturday night also. They took advantage of a lot of our mistakes, and so what I learned about us, we have to defend better. We can't lose our guys in transition, and we have to rebound better. And I I'll probably be saying it all year, and I know it sounds cliche, but defense and rebounding is going to help you win a lot of basketball games.
Coach, from watching your game on Friday night, I will have to say I got a takeaway from your team, and I was extremely impressed with the play of Cameron Arnold. You know, this senior guard, he's very crafty. He's a great ball handler. He can get to the bucket. He's got a lot of street game in him. And, you know, what potential does Cameron have for you this season, and how important is he for this Wildcat success?
Well, first of all, Cameron's a great leader. He loves the game of basketball. It's his only sport that he plays. It's the only sport he's played throughout high school. He is talking about going out for track this fall, but up to this point, it's the only sport he's played. He works hard. In fact, I told anybody that wanted to listen, since I took the job, he was probably my best player when I got the job, and he's my most improved player since April also. And he's put a lot of time and hours in. And what potential does he have? I think he has very high potential. He sees the floor very well, handles the ball. He's a very, very good passer. He's a leader. He's just an all-around great kid to have on my first varsity team, and I'm glad he, along with all the players, I'm really glad he's an integral part of our team. He's fun to coach.
Coach, let's talk a little bit about your game coming up this weekend. You've got the Anna Rockets. You know, they only put up 29 points against a very good Fort Loramie team last weekend. What's it going to take for the Redskin, or for what's it going to take for the Wildcats to get away with a win against the Rockets on this weekend?
Well, I'm not really concerned with how many points they scored. I'm concerned with how many we gave up. We gave up 67 and 63 last weekend, and that's too many. So probably sounds cliche, but I'm focusing on what Houston does right now. And we know Anna's personnel, and we have a game plan in for them, but we're looking to improve and get better in the areas that we need to improve on. So it's their home opener. I'm sure they have a bad taste in their mouth from last Friday night, as we did after Friday night. We were able to get back on the court. They had to wait a week to get back on the court. But as you two know, and anybody that's listening probably knows, it's hard to win at Anna, at Anna's gym. They have a good atmosphere over there, and the place is loud. And we just got to stay mentally focused and be tough, and mental toughness, and lace them up and see what happens Friday night.
All right, Coach. Hey, listen, one more question before we let you go. And I got to share a story with our viewers, because you and I were talking actually last week, one day before the season started, and you shared a story with me about not being able to sleep one night. I think you were all excited about the season coming up, as you were explaining, and you did something kind of odd there in the middle of the night. Now when I can't sleep, I get up, might watch a little TV, go to the fridge and get a snack. You actually go to the Waffle House in Sydney. It's like 2:30 in the morning. So is that where your best game planning gets done, at the Waffle House, or what's the reason for the travel?
Waffle House is one of my favorites, and I don't know how much game planning I do there, but it takes my mind off basketball for a little while. But yeah, last Thursday morning, I woke my wife up about 3:30, and I said, I'm going to eat breakfast somewhere. And she's like, what time is it? And I said, 3:30. And she said, there's no place open. And I said, oh, yeah, there is. The Waffle House is open. So not really a good game playing place, but it takes my mind off, and I was able to focus a little better after that. And I highly recommend it for any coaches that are listening.
Well, listen, Coach, that's good stuff. I wish you the best of luck this year. Us guys here at Fish Report, we love covering high school sports, and great to have the opportunity to cover your team as well, and wish you the best of luck throughout the season.
Hey, I appreciate it.
Thanks,
appreciate
Coach.
it. Thanks for having me. Thanks.
Yep.
See ya.
All right, that was the head coach of the Houston Wildcats, Brad Francis, and Ken, we saw them. Like he said, Russia kind of had their way with them there, and especially in the first half. But they're a team that works hard, and they're going to pick up their share of victories this year.
Yeah, they played very well the second half against Russia, and like I said, they had a tough overtime loss to Newton the other night, and actually I saw Newton play last night myself, and that's not a bad team either. So you're right, Coach Francis and his Wildcats, they're going to keep improving as the season goes on. And, like he said, he's got a tough test Friday night. Anytime you go at Anna, it's never easy. But I'm sure he'll have his team prepared, and they'll play hard, I guarantee it.
All right. Well, speaking of Newton, I know, like you said, Russia played there on Tuesday night. I want to bring the sound room guys in. Guys, come on back here. I know you in years past on this show, we've talked about that you've done a few food reviews on this show. And Newton is one of the, if I have to say, one of the better places, better one of the
Absolutely.
concession stands in the area to eat. I know you two are always into sampling stuff. Any good menu items over there in Newton?
Well, Craig, I happened to journey on into the cafeteria, and they have what has to be now.
Journeyed into the cafeteria. Now, are you? This is where the concession stands at, or are you just sneaking into something here?
Actually, I think it was the school board office / book fair room / concession stand
Multi-purpose.
last night. It was the multi-purpose room, and they had quite a spread out there. And I would have to say now, of all the games I've been to, the best overstuffed fries anywhere.
Oh.
Just a boat overloaded with everything you could put on it, cheese and
They had it going.
they had it going. And then they had hot dogs and brats next to that, popcorn, pretzels, anything your heart desired in a basketball game as a fan was there, and it looked pretty good. Some folks sitting right next to me had one of those, and they enjoyed it thoroughly.
Well, you know those weeknight games. You know a lot of times you're going straight from work to the game, so it's nice when you have a good concession stand.
Absolutely.
It was a nice spread. I was a little bit under the weather, so I just had a savory water.
A couple years ago, I went over to Newton High School, Craig, and they were selling a dozen box of Krispy Kremes for like $5.
Oh, are you kidding me?
Oh, it was great. Walked out there with 2 dozen Krispy Kremes for 10 bones.
We'll have to get a few food reviews as the season goes on and see if
Absolutely.
anybody can compare
And
it
they
to
even had
Newton's.
one little booth outside was selling fruit baskets, and I saw at least one Rushi fan walked out of there with a big basket of fruit. So they were buying and selling just about everything you could get there.
Yep.
Getting ready for the holiday parties,
That's
probably.
right.
All right, guys, good stuff there. Why don't you hang on a second? We do have one more thing to get to tonight, and that is the poll question. So, Ken, why don't you read that to our viewers again?
Well, we talked earlier in the show, Craig, about girls basketball, and there was a couple stunning results last Saturday. Which of these two games, to our viewers, do you feel was the biggest surprise? Was it Houston's win over Anna or Bakken's win over Fort Loramie? What do our viewers have to say tonight back there in the sound room?
Well, the telemetrics are lit up again this week. Just like last week, we bragged about a record of over three-digit answers. We've got even more now. 105 people said Botkins over Loramie was the bigger shocker, and then just 25 folks were voting for Houston over Anna. So obviously with the recent history of the Redskins, folks are leaning on that, and a couple state championships over there, and the fact that Botkins did take them down 37-35 the other day is the shocker of the weekend.
Botkins fans are excited over there. They're 5-0 right now.
I don't blame him, and I'll agree. I was shocked myself when I seen that score, but be ready, Botkins. The Redskins are going to get another shot at you later in the year, and that might be a little different contest the next time down. So we'll see what happens.
Should be awfully fun, that's for sure. All right, well, that's going to wrap it up for us tonight. I do want to say special thanks to Coach Francis from Houston for joining us on the show. Thanks to the viewers out there for tuning in. Ken and I and the crew will all be back again next week with another big episode. Until then, have a great rest of the week, and good night, everyone.
Hanging at the fishing pond, hanging at the fishing pond, hanging at the fishing pond, hanging at the fishing pond. For your latest news in high school sports, tune in to the fishing pond. Don't need no bait, don't need no pole when you tune in to the fishing pond.